Hi, this is Coach Seth from Wanna Try in Scottsdale, Arizona, and welcome to One Shot Wednesday. It's a video series that I'm doing that is going to discuss a topic triathlon related, following a race or training, something like that. And with the Lifetime Tri that was this past weekend here in town, heard a lot of stories about people riding a bike course and heard of a couple skirmishes, crashes out on the course involving more than one rider, and just thought it was a good time to talk about cornering on a bike, specifically in a race. And this is going to be even more important because the next big race we have here in the valley is Soma, and Soma has 20 turns, including 4 U-turns, and that's per lap. So if you're doing the half, you're going to do 60 turns, 20 per lap, and the Olympic, I think, is some variation of that. I think you do 1.5 laps basically, so you're probably going to do at least 30 turns. So that's why this is a pertinent topic. So I'm going to actually talk more about the tactics of riding through a turn versus how you actually corner a bike. That's another topic for itself, but let's just go to, I've broken this down into 3 types of turns. So the first turn is my favorite, and that's the turn I've dubbed the wee turn. So this is a turn that you can take at a good rate of speed, and it's usually a turn that's less than 90 degrees. So you see the city of Wanna Try actually doesn't have very good road construction, so our road painted lines and everything aren't that clean, but you get the idea. So the orange dots are where the cones are, and then this is actually the turn that you ride. Maybe you ride it both directions in a course, on a loop course. So imagine you're going to be riding this direction, just same way you drive, so in the right-hand lane, and just riding out through the turn. So the thing with a wee turn is that in a triathlon race, USAT rules dictate that you ride right and pass on the left, and there's a reason for that. I'll explain that later. So if you're entering the turn on the right and you've got a good line and there's nobody around you, you can actually hit that apex right there and ride it from the outside to the inside and then back to the outside. That actually gives you a straighter line through the turn, and you don't have to slow down much. So the key for any type of turn, I should have explained this earlier, so the key for any type of turn is that before you get there, you want to do all your slowing down before you get there, because if you brake in the turn as you're leaning the bike over, what happens is that you're going to lose traction. So if there's anything that really forces you to slow down abruptly or take a lot of speed off and you really come down on those brakes, you're going to slide out and you're going to take at least yourself out. You can't take out other riders. The other problem with entering the problem with entering a corner too fast is that, just what I explained, you have to brake in the turn, which is dangerous. But if you're passing in a corner and there's other riders here, so say there's a rider that's ahead of me, it's just entered the turn, and I come screaming into the corner on the inside. I think I'm going to pass him on the right. I'm not sure what line this person is going to take, so if they decide to come over, we could touch wheels, or we could collide that way. So my general rule of thumb, and the way to make sure that you're going to ride corners the fastest the most often, is just to not pass in a corner at all, and just ride behind the rider and try to maintain your speed through the corner. That can be frustrating, I know that, especially if you get behind somebody that goes through a corner really slow, but it's going to take you a lot less time to get through that corner and around that other athlete than it is going to be to pick yourself up off the pavement. So this is probably the easiest type of turn to navigate, and it's also the most fun, hence the name wee turn. The next one, the one that's also pretty common, is the 90-degree turn, aka the elbow. Again, I've got my orange traffic cones laid out here. This is another one that you can ride basically from the outside, and when you get to the apex, you can aim in towards the center line. Again, the only time I'd ever ride the apex of a turn in a race or in a group ride situation out on open road is if I know that there's no one that's around me, I've got a clear line of sight, and I have basically as much space as I need to go through the turn. In a crowded race like Soma, where they're talking about an Olympic distance race and half iron race, or the Tempe Tri where you had a sprint, super sprint, and Olympic distance race, there's a lot of other athletes out there, so you might not even get a chance to do that in the entire race. So if there's other athletes in a turn, what I will try to do is I'll ride doing my braking before the turn, just take it nice and easy through the turn, and as soon as I start to get out back on that straightaway, look over left-hand shoulder, make sure that it's clear, and I'll pass everybody once I've gotten through the apex of that turn. The other thing you can do is when you're coming out of the turn like that, make sure other athletes know where you're at, to say on your left or passing, something like that, because a lot of people, once they get out of a turn, they'll take a chance to get something to drink, or they'll grab something off their bike, and a bike's going to go wherever you look. So if you've got the bike leaned over and you're going through the turn, then you sit up and you relax and you're kind of looking around. The bike might not follow a straight as line as you were going through the turn. And one of the other key points for riding a turn is just wherever you are in a turn, just stick to your line. So in the event that there's two riders abreast here, which is not a good idea at all, but let's just say two riders are going abreast through this turn, and this person on the inside keeps their line, but the person on the outside is going to come over. Well, they're going to cause a crash. Or if they get right to the apex of the turn and the guy on the inside decides to go out, that's a really common way of crashes and turns, is you get two people or one person approaching another, and then they get to the turn and the rider on the inside doesn't follow a tight line, and then they drift out. And that's how a lot of people go down corners. The other thing I'll say, either in this and the wee turn, is that if you're cornering at a high rate of speed and something does happen, it's physics. The natural way you're going to go is you're going to slide to the outside. That's also true if it's a loop course, anybody coming the other direction. So if you've got two riders coming this way and a rider coming out opposite directions, and the rider on the inside goes down, they're going to slide out, and you could potentially take down riders going the other direction. So it's just best to corner really safely in both this and the wee turn. Now the final type of turn is a U-turn. Again, got my big orange traffic cone there, and this road obviously is not the scale, but I need to have a talk with my artist, I think. So the best way to do a U-turn is approach from the outside, ride past the cone, and that way you've got all this width of the lane to turn, and then you can cut back in close to the cone if you've got space, or just go around nice, smooth, and carry some speed. Again, this is a situation where you want to do all your braking before you actually start the turn, and the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to approach the cone from the inside. And you'll see this at Ironman Arizona. It never fails. So they've got the U-turn at the hot corner right at Mill and Rio Salado, and you've got the whole width of the road, both lanes, and it's a pretty wide road, and people will approach that cone on the inside, and they'll start their turn right after they pass the cone, and they get right about to there, right to the curb, and they've got to dismount, or they got to really slow down to make that turn. If you approach it from the outside, once you pass the cone, you can make a nice little curve there, wave to your friends and family, not have to dismount, and you don't have to come to a complete stop to make that turn. And the one thing I will say about any type of turn is that if you want to know the best way to ride it in a race, and you're following a nice single line of people, just watch the rider in front of you. Chances are they're going to be doing all the things you're going to be doing as you enter the turn. They're going to be doing things like watching the ground to make sure that they've got a clean line and there aren't any cracks or rocks or glass or anything like that. They do a good job of cleaning up the road surface, but just a good idea to keep your eyes trained on what you might be riding over or through. And so if you're following a line of people and the rider in front of you takes a certain line to the turn, and even if they're going slightly slower than you are, if it looks like they have taken a good line and they know what they're doing, just follow their same line. It's going to save you a little effort having to think through how to ride the turn. That's basically it in a nutshell. I will say that the best way to avoid any crash is just a ride within yourself. And with turns, brake before the turn, and hold your line. Those are the three big ones. I know I left a lot out here, and I'll probably supplement this with a little text to make it a little more clear, but hopefully this helps. And it's definitely a skill to practice. The last thing I want to talk about is just riding, go back to this one. So riding an apex on the open road. In a big group, I see a lot of guys do this. So you've got a big group, a group that's maybe 30, 40 riders strong, and you see them taking up more than just the bike lane, just taking up a lot of the road. You'll see guys that actually will cut the apex of a turn, ride a little straighter. On open road, though, we've got these things called cars, and you should never cross the center line. You can still use the apex of a turn without really having to leave the bike lane much, but just in a heavily trafficked area like the valley, if you're so imagine this is a side street, so you're leaving a major road to turn onto a side residential street, and you decide, oh, I'm just going to cut the corner. You've got a lot of landscaping and stuff around turns, so you can't always see what's cleared, and you can't really see when's traffic is coming. So if you're entering that turn, you're going to cut it and cross that center line, you could very well get hit by a car. So we're big proponents of riding really safe out there, and whether it's on roads for training or for a race. So hopefully these tips will help you guys when you're out there, especially in a race, because the safer you ride, actually, the faster you're going to go. Because if the ride corner's the safest, requires you to slow down the least, believe it or not. And that's mainly due to just braking before the turn.